so you'll kind of see the actual technology, and then we'll save some time for questions that we make sure we can answer what you have, and then circle back when we do a training sessions for those that are moving forward with participating with the pilot. So again, I really appreciate the opportunity to work with you, and I think you're going to hopefully see the value in what we're presenting to you today, as many of our other clients have. So with that, I'm going to move into a couple things about IQ Exchange. First of all, I created IQ Exchange when I was in uniform, came up with the concept. Huge transient work in the federal contracting markets, also kind of overlaps with the construction and engineering type field, but you have winners and losers. People move on to projects, they move off, and either you got to let them go or you have to find something else for them to do. So this whole bridging concept started off originally with allowing people to retain their larger portion of their workforce versus having to let them go and rehire at a later date. So with that, we came up with the concept of IQ Exchange that allows people to load their talent well before it's coming available, to offer those to other members, and then to basically loan, get reimbursed for whatever price is negotiated for that talent while they're away working, and then those people come back at the end. So pay and benefits stay the same, and while they're away, paid by the loaning company, and the borrowing company is basically reimbursing whatever hourly rate that's negotiated between the two parties inside of the talent exchange agreement created inside IQ Exchange. So a few things that were the drivers of this: trusted workforce on demand. A lot of people represent themselves in certain ways, so this is more of a B2B model where companies put up the attributes about people and their talent and represent those to others, and it makes the marketplace more secure. So it's not like a self-advertising, although we do allow individual entities to come in, but we don't allow people just to come in and write anything about themselves. Second thing is it's a pretty competitive world, even though mostly pre-COVID, but a lot of industries are still thriving right now, and there's still a high competition for certain degrees of talent. And so being able to cooperate in the talent markets, we think, is very important. Again, retention costs money to recruit, train, and divest the person when you have to let them go. So the ability to hold people in place really helps the bottom line. And again, all that circled together, it really helps with overall performance and risk, operational risk in the end. I'm going to skip through some of these workforce solutions that we've come up with, and I know you'll catch up in a second, but external marketplace we'll go into first. That's what we'll mainly be dealing with. When we talk about that, then we'll touch briefly on the internal talent directory, soft landing, and federal talent directory. I'll just touch on in a couple sentences. So here's how the commercial market really works. If you just think of two parties, one on the left, company A we have here, one on the right is company B, and IQ Exchange Marketplace is represented by the circle in the middle. So in this case, we have a company on the left that has a few folks that you can see in the red box that's becoming non-billable or underutilized or wants to do something different, which is more the case nowadays. They're talked to, those people want to stay with their company because they know that there may be nothing for them. They're able to be placed inside the marketplace, and once they're placed in there, they become visible to other members. Everything's blind, so you don't know the name of the talent, ethnicity, gender, age, and so really it's a really fair shake for the way to just do a pure talent search based on the type of attributes, location, availability, and approximate pricing that we do. So let's just say those two folks are placed in. Some of the other members that have access to IQ Exchange Marketplace, they're able to search, they find, and once they do, they initiate a contact. Again, the person who is representing the talent receives a contact request from a person, their name and their company is then displayed. The person that made the contact request still won't even know who the company is till they reply. And when they do, they'll know the name of the company and the individual, but they still don't know the name of the talent. So those two come together in the marketplace. You actually can initiate a talk on the phone, initiate a transaction, which is culminating in a signed talent exchange agreement, which we'll look at in a few minutes. Once you come to terms and both parties sign, we create a talent exchange agreement, which is in essence a contract between the two parties that are able to negotiate. That person then agrees to go over, do that work. They're being reimbursed to the loaning company while they're away. And as that work winds up, that person prepares to come back. So either the company has relisted them when they're come back, they could have been extended, or they're put on another project. And that's the way kind of this concept works. So I'll pause there for any questions real quick. Okay. So mechanics slide here. A few things we talked about right here, and I'll just highlight a few of these. Talent profiles. Again, it's all about skills and things that are important to be able to accomplish the job. So we have a bunch of attributes that fall into a talent profile, and those are all searchable, and there are a lot of different things the system does for you. But again, it's skills, cost, location, availability. Negotiated rates. This is a standard template. So typically the large companies we've had that have come in have, once they take a look at it, then they're able to pass that down to program managers or other people that manage projects. And it's kind of dummy proof, so you can't really ruin anything, but you do. The biggest thing is what's the hourly rate and what are the special considerations you want in there. So
Richard?
One of the things we do offer in here is to change the
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'll pause.
There was a question from Adrian Bench, but she put it in the chat.
Okay.
She's asking about the companies and knowing the talents' names.
So let me see. Yeah, it's just the name that's not shared, Adrian. And then when the two parties connect, then that name is revealed, and then you're able to interview and everything else before you sign the final version of the contract.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, so we just do it blind marketplace, so you don't know. We've been asked before in the construction industry, oh, we would never work with this company, and how do we know? So when a person answers you and both parties know who they're talking to, you can just drop the conversation right then. So I figure I'll answer that at the same time. I have your chat up, and I apologize. It's my first time working in this application, so I got them up now. So I saw another one about is IQ Exchange extended for same membership? Yes, it'll draw from SAME, but it'll also draw from the larger marketplace of current members as it grows. So you can search for any kind of specialty out that you're looking for. I think that answers Kate's question. A larger base is the correct answer, but it'll be in the construction piece, it'll be primarily just SAME members. Okay, I think we're good. So we do, when you negotiate, we do allow two things. One is that you may have or need to recall that person, or you may need to, if the project ends or it goes better than expected, then you may want the option to be able to send that person back. So we call that change to start and end dates. And that's negotiated under each talent exchange agreement. And so they're equal on both sides. So the right to recall equals the right to send back. So we protect the talent. The talent has predictability in their assignment. So that's all that means. We have a couple things around some of the bigger concerns, IP, intellectual property. With every one of these agreements, we have a three-party NDA attached, but as most people know, when you prime and sub together, you go with what you learn and you leave with what you learn. So we think those scales are balanced, but again, we have the three-party NDA in there. I'm going to go to the next page. No poaching. And this is something we believe that's very important because we don't want to create a poaching pool. So we have a couple layered protections in here. And the first layer is if you and I make contact, we know each other as the parties, but then the talent's introduced to you. That talent quits and goes to work for the other person that was introduced. Or is hired by that person versus staying and working through the exchange. There's a 3-month, basically a 3-month salary, what's an ordinary salary for that period, and is paid as a finder's fee. And then on the end, say if I go for 4 months and I work for Kathy, and I leave Kathy's organization and I go back and quit and go to work for that company, that same 1-year period is a protection is layered in to protect the loaning party from losing their talent. That same 3 months would come into effect. And so that really stops this from becoming a poaching pool, because there is some penalties with teeth in it that helps make the companies whole. Misrepresentation, let's see. So Kate, your question, I'm going to tell you that we don't have the broad base now, but that's what the same is meant to do. Is as we bring in the members, then it'll go as broad as the members want to go. And then you'll have access to other talents that are in the marketplace also. Okay. Misrepresentation, we have the right to return someone. So if they're misrepresented in the system that they could do something, or they're not working out, then you can send them back in 1 to 10 business days. And it's literally a drop-down menu that you can go in and select 1 to 10. Both parties negotiate. No, I only want to give you 2, or I want to give you 5 days that they can send them back without for misrepresentation.
Can you go potty? Come on.
I'm sorry. Hey, Kathy, I think you're off mute. Okay. Misconduct, you have the right, the borrowing party has the right to return them as soon as if there's something, then their loaning company deals with that, just like you do when you have a prime sub relationship. All right. That's the primary model that we're talking about today. Internal, we've offered people, and this applies to the federal government too, where they can load their employee base. There's times where companies buy and sell a lot of business units, and when they buy, their HR systems aren't necessarily integrated. So people are hiring and letting people go independent. So people have asked if they could use their own kind of contained version of IQ Exchange that they could use and list talent between all their business units, so they can advertise who's available and what positions are available, and try to use that to map between the business units until HR is eventually connected in the road. And then the last one is a soft landing. This case is simply, and this is the last one, I'm after one more after this. The last case that you've expended all options to take care of someone, then we have something called soft landing in here, and the company can choose to sponsor an individual in the system for 1 to 12 months. We charge $20 a month per head as part of an outplacement arrangement you all can have with your employees. But what it does is it allows that talent to continue to exist in the system, and they're treated as a 1099. And when they're in that soft landing role, they become a talent profile, and basically they can negotiate on behalf of themselves or decide to go and take a job full-time with another company that can find them there. So it's a way to kind of take care of people on their way out, so they want to come back and work for you later. Last one, the bottom line, I don't really want to run through everything, but it's just a service product company. Example, top line revenue, 100 million, typical recruiting and turnover and outplacement costs. So the bottom line here is, with everything it takes to recruit, train, and get somebody operating and let them go, for every dollar you spend in IQ Exchange and a transaction fee, and I'll talk about that at the very last, it's how we make money. You save 21 on internal costs of dealing with employees. So if you can outplace one person, then that would save you $21. So how we make our money is, if you have a $100 a week transaction, we make 2%, so it'd be $2, or 1,000 would be 20, and 10,000 a month person would be $200. And we do allow the two parties to negotiate that transaction fee. Either the loaning party can pay it, the borrowing party can pay it, or they split it. So typically we've seen most people split it, but some people are taking a haircut or they're already being pushed on the rate, and they just tell them somebody has to pay that. So that's how we make our money. We set this very low, so we know we're going to have competitors down the road. So I'll pause there for any questions. I didn't see anything pop up on the chat, and I'm going to go to a different window here. Okay, I'm going to sign into IQ Exchange real quick. Bad time to have an IQ test in public, isn't it? All right.
Kate had a couple of questions that you might want to look at before you start.
Okay, I'll just do this one and I'll look at it. Thank you. All right.
Yeah, these questions
Right.
might be out of your area, but if you know the answer is great.
Yeah. I think there could be some, but for the short term, it doesn't really tip a contract. This isn't meant necessarily to be permanent, but we've seen people run past a year, but there is some, there is an allowance in the small business rules that allows for consulting type roles, and that's what these types of positions. We went to the acquisition folks and they said the same. But if you borrowed your whole workforce is where you may run into an issue. So let's see, small business targets are benefited when you do borrow from small business companies, and it does help to satisfy those requirements. The talents, you find active or separating service members or veterans. So one of the things that we do have we're working with the Army now to come up with a pilot, but one of the scenarios is separating service members that are leaving, that we will help put them into this pool so you can find them. And again, if you do that, we haven't set that up as a model yet, but we would charge a small fee just to be able to go find them, a one-time fee to do it, nothing exorbitant. We haven't figured that out yet. And the other part is military spouses too, as they're moving. One of the goals is to help them get placement with industry, or to get them to be able to go out and help find something onside the bases and stuff. So, all right.
Can you hear me? I don't know if I actually have muted or not. Okay, awesome. I figured I'd just ask via microphone than typing. So I guess I'm a little bit confused. So this is essentially kind of like a recruitment agency model, right? Like, so would you charge us a specific bill rate and then you'd pay that person? I'm trying to understand that piece of it.
Okay, this is a B2B.
Okay.
So when you all contract with one another, you pay each other. And for access to the marketplace and use of the marketplace is the 2% transaction fee that we charge.
Oh.
So you only pay on success.
Okay, so
you bypass the whole middle market people and go business to business direct. We don't allow headhunting firms to come in here.
Right. But say I find somebody and they come work for Mott McDonald for 3 to 6 months or whatever the case may be. I'm not paying for on top of their hourly rate. How does that work?
So that comes back to the 2%.
Okay.
Let's just say you had a 3-month engagement. On average, they were, I'm just going to guess, $3,000 a month. So it'd be, the 2% of the $3,000 a month would be $60.
Okay. So that's the only additional cost.
Our money.
Got it.
Yeah.
So only additional costs rather than us paying that person directly.
Correct.
Is that 2%? Okay, got it. Thank you so much. Sorry, just wanted to make sure I fully understood.
I appreciate the question. Thank you. But
Thanks.
the point is you only pay on success, which is great.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. So
Richard, you did have, this is Kathy, you did have one more, you sort of touched on it, but there was another side to it, a question about borrowing from small business or small business borrowing from large business. So if a small business borrows from a large business, does that hurt their small business status?
if it's temporary, meaning less than 6 months, no.
Okay. Kate, hopefully that
It's when
answered your question.
when people kind of tip the scale to full time, that they view that you've basically gone out and contracted your entire workforce. So those people aren't full-time employees.
Yeah, that helps me and will help the small businesses that ask you the same question.
That was it. Thanks, Richard.
Okay, no problem. So what you're seeing here, I'm going to try to blow this up. Can everybody see this okay? I'm going to try to move this down. I'm not going to be able to see the question. So Teresa, would you grab me if there's another question that comes through? So this is what a marketplace looks like. So this is the dashboard when you come into the system, that each member would see their own account here. And so everything about your talents here, and if you wanted, for instance, everything about your positions, billings, we do the invoices in here. And we have 3 basic reports now, and then how you kind of administer your account here. And so we'll run through this and just kind of show, again, I'm going to do very top level. And when I do through an area, I'll just pause to see if anybody has a question. If there is, then let me know and we'll answer. But for instance, if you want to go in, once your talent profiles are loaded in here, again, they're visible to your account, but they're not visible to others. But in this case, I'm just going to organize these by talent ID here real quickly. And anyways, you can sort by a lot of different things, but these allow you to kind of go in and look at a talent. And so I wanted to show you a couple things on here. Sorry, I'm in Florida at my mom's house, and her internet is not like ours. So that's why we got sunny weather out behind me. Anyways, this is a typical talent profile here, and I put it in edit, and I'll show you why in a minute. But again, it's just first and last name. We just added this. So if you have like a HR system or a payroll system identification number, we allow you to put that in here. The system has its own unique number, but if you wanted to load this as a cross-reference because you have, Roger Smiths, you have 2 of them, then it would allow you to know which is which. But every talent has a profile manager inside, either one or multi. We use industry codes here, but in this case, they work in information. But if you like construction or any other ones, we use the NAICS codes if you're familiar with those. One of the things that we do is a little harder for people to wrap around is this idea around standardization of profession titles or job titles, or job posting. When you put it up, what do you call them? And every company has unique ways of describing what people do by their job title. And so what we've done is we've gone to the Department of Labor ONET. And so ONET really is a system that describes all the commercial and military type of job titles. And so the only time we require you to do something here, and I'll demonstrate in a little bit, is choose a top layer title that corresponds to something in ONET. So the closest type of thing. So when you actually start typing, it'll actually start suggesting pulling directly from that ONET. And there's a reason why we do that. But in pricing here, we demonstrate we don't give exact pricing. We give it in $20 brackets. And so you don't have to really tip your hand into what the cost of a person is. You describe them, and then whether you get a more expensive person for less or you pay more for less based on demand. Again, market drives what people can charge and what people are willing to pay. A little summary about what they are here. So availability window here about when their date, about their zip code. home zip code. So we'll make sure people put that in because that only considers positions that are within range that person said they're willing to drive to. So that's unique to the individual about what they're willing to do, their willingness to travel, if there's any kind of clearance required. And again, for some positions, you don't need it. But then we start talking about specific attributes about people, and we'll look at that a little more. But I wanted to show you that. Primary reason I just was bringing you to one of my talents here is one of the things that we do offer you to do is you can load workforce if you're not ready to publicize somebody. You're trying to use a mouse, I don't typically do, but this one I typically try it one more time. My mouse pad's working weird on my computer. But if I hit this, it flips it to private just by clicking on it. And then that would only be visible to people in your account. And then just by clicking on it again, it would switch it out. I don't know why my Apple is doing that, but I don't have my mouse. That's the only change. So let's go back in here and we'll go. All right, so we kind of looked at talents. This tells me I've had 4 people since January 1st that have been employed. I have 3 currently on contract. I have 93 in my pool that are listed and shown as available in there. In this box, recently viewed talents, it really just lets you know that if another member goes outside of your account and searches and opens one of your talent profiles, then that person pops up on here that they were recently looked at. This is just let you know people have activity, but also one of the reports shows you that a lot of people are getting views, and if you're not getting any transaction or a contact request on them, then something may be wrong with their profile. So that kind of works out with that. So we looked, I have currently 3 people on contract here. So I got 6 active agreements. So you'll notice here the talent 273 is one I'm borrowing, 628 and 521 are all ones I'm borrowing. The ones where I see the names are mine. And so the nice thing about this, it just lets you know who's yours. But in any of these, on this one, you can go in and see a summary of the transaction that was signed by 2 parties. And in this case, myself and Tom Rue from Riverfresh agreed to, on Stephen Alexander in this case, we agreed to 84 an hour, 2 from dates, the work week. In this case, they wanted 410s. That trial period we talked about here. Minimum recall notice, the right to send back and the right to recall is 45 days. What's their work site? No telecommuting. What kind of travel that they may have to do if they've signed up for? What is it that person would kind of be doing? Any kind of special notes, like in this case, they had scheduled time off. So that would be written into the contract. If they need to go to training or you need them back for a project for a certain duration during the engagement, that would all be put in here. And then when it was signed. So having done all that, we can go and actually take a quick look at a contract. And this is what a talent exchange agreement would look like. So this is the boilerplate between the two parties. And so let me see if I can grab this over here. Okay, so this is the talent exchange agreement. This is when the 2 parties signed at the time and date stamps to create the agreement. And then we have the attachment A, the 2 parties and their addresses, the contract number, payment terms, the transaction fee. In this case, I've agreed to pay 100% of it. And net terms, we only offer 2, 30, and 45 days. That changed the start and end dates that we talked about. And then we actually get down into the talent piece that we talked about. The talent, what were their qualifications? What was the job description, the assignment, the window? And then it talks about the primary work address. If there's any additional types of checks you wanted, like criminal credit or drug testing, if there's a security clearance, and then those other considerations that were written in the contract. And then the 3-party non-disclosure agreement that the 2 parties, the 3 parties, the loaning party, the borrowing party, and the individual sign. Today we require a wet signature on this because the talent typically doesn't have access to the system. But from that case, that shows you how we create the contract agreements. So I'll pause there for any questions anybody has.
I just wanted to mention that that contract agreement also includes the hourly rate that you agree to on the B2B level.
Okay, so we'll go in and just do an example. I want to come back to the panel again in a little bit. But, we'll just go ahead and I just want to start. We'll go in here and do a quick search. So let's just do construction. I'm not going to worry about the titles for now, but let's just say I wanted somebody that's available starting on March 22nd. And I'm going to just go out like, we'll just say 3 months basically. And zip code. I just put in Fort Belvoir because I knew that from my military days. And so I'm just going to go out and take a look for, again, people in the construction industry. In this case, I found 7 talents here. So there's a few things that came up here. Again, our search criteria, NAICS code for construction. You can do it by job, profession, title, and we'll look at those in a second. But in this case, you know, we didn't really want a real estate agents, but we got a couple of contract laborers. If you see these little gray icons that let you know that person exists in your company and they're available, so in that case, you would just contact the person in your company that manages that profile, and then there's no charge to do the internal stuff if you go direct to the other individual. It's just when you go outside your account to another. But in this case, I don't, this person was listed, again, they're under $39 an hour, travel, and then what zip code, they're in Springfield, Virginia. So if I like that person, again, we can go in here, some of the things about them. They like mixed concrete, demolitions, blueprints and designs, hazardous material, trunk strength. And so again, just what they're going to be doing a little bit. If I like that person, I can just hit contact. Again, I don't know who they are. And you can see here, the talent number is all I see and what their profession was and that they work in that industry. Again, that industry is not required. I got to get back over here, sorry. And anyways, when we do that, what happens is I just send out the contact request and whatever, it goes back out to the other party, and then they answer me back. So this is just your schedule. It's a standard thing I selected for what days I'm available and what times. And then all I do is hit the send contact request. And then that sends that over to that person that answers, who manages that profile. So we've looked at kind of how you go out, find, search. You can filter on the left side depending on what you're looking for, specific skill, specific profession title, kind of like a pay range, if you will. These notifications I wanted to kind of look at a little bit because this describes the workflow. So again, these black envelopes are system notifications that allow you to kind of see what's going on in your account with your individuals. In this case, I have a talent 644, Bianca, and her thing began on February 28th. So she started work yesterday. And we see these number of green. We've had 2 agreements signed. One was signed by the other person today. And we signed another one that looks like on Saturday. But you can see the red triangles is when I make a contact request or I initiate a contract, that other party who manages that talent profile gets a notification in the box we're looking in. And so in this case, when somebody looks at it, it tells me, in this case, that we went in and we started going back and forth. I had an old start date of 2/28 and I wanted to push that out to 3/22. And then an end date was adjusted based on the project. We went back and forth. I had originally asked for 32 or was trying to bid 32. They wanted 35. And then so you go back and forth on what are the terms that you're negotiating on behalf, whether it's cost, whether it's work schedule, start dates, end dates, whether you want somebody to come back. And then those things culminate in a signed agreement, which result in the green check mark. There's a few other things down here, like somebody viewed a profile for Selma Ray. It lets you know somebody hit that profile here. Again, somebody's profile is ending. This is a kind of an interesting, what we've set up is if you have positions and talents, in this case, it was a surgeon, but anyways, we, in this case, there's a position out there that matched. I had a medical talent in my portfolio that I was able to map to a potential home. And so I just hit contact, and that sends a notification, again, the same way we did it last time, out to that position owner. And then what happens on the other side is that the position owner, once inventory enters the system, will receive a notification that there's potential matches inside the system back to a talent number. And so it pushes the two parties together to say, hey, we could potentially make a deal here. So I have an opening, you have a talent, let's talk. And both parties are kind of pushed to the middle to be able to talk. So I'm going to just pause there for a minute if anybody has any questions. Okay, so we'll go in for the next thing. I want to show you a couple types of things. This is, again, active agreements here, pending agreements, meaning one party signed, awaiting on action from the other. Upcoming means both parties have signed the agreement. It starts at a future date, and then, of course, completed is completed. This is where you go see your invoices over here. So again, of the 6, I have in here that I'm paying on. These are the transaction fees associated based on who's paying what. And so in this case, if I'm paying all of it or splitting it, then whatever that monthly rate is times the 2%, and if you pay half of that or none of it, then you wouldn't see any charge here. But that's how we compute what we get from members on a given month. Up here real quick, so account settings. This is where we simply go in and add people quickly. So new user, it's as easy as saying first and last name and email. If they want to get text messages on here, which is one of the options, you can customize how you want to interact with the system. You can put that on here. We have 4 basic roles here. A guest can log in and basically look at the portfolio. They can't really search outside of your account, and they can't contact or sign any agreements on behalf of the company. Regular is somebody that can add positions and talent. They can edit, and they can also negotiate on behalf of the company with another member. So they actually sign. Admin kind of gets a little higher. They're able to add and remove the regular users, and also to do everything below. And then super admin's the only person that can come in and add, remove admins. So that's how easy it is to add people to your account. You can decide, what you want to do to push that over. One of the other things that's kind of cool on here, once you do the users on here, you can move people around and stuff. And so, like I said, it's really a pretty easy system to use. I wanted to go over, sorry about that. My little mouse is being a little bit rambunctious here. Where are you? Okay. All right, let's go back to here. All right. If I wanted to migrate talent, I knew that was going to do that to me. Thanks for your patience real quick. All right, so we talked about migrate talent. You can do the same with positions, but I think you'll get the idea. Let's just say I left the company and I have all these talent profiles, or, a talent profile belongs to me, and then when somebody's going to go out of the company, I have somebody that manages all external talents while they're away. So basically what you can do is you can just select individually, you can do everybody, and then you pick another user in the account that you have listed here, and then you just hit migrate talents. And then that moves all the people, if I've left the company, you want to move it to somebody else, then it just moves all those profiles over to the other person, and then you can move them back. So it's just as easy as doing that and then hitting migrate talents. So we do the same thing for positions, and then soft land, we talked about that sponsorship of being able to go out and find people. So again, it's just you pick whoever, if I wanted to sponsor this person, I enter their personal email. I basically choose how long we want to, as a company, want to sponsor them. I hit sponsor talents. It'll take you through a series of menus that says you really want to do this, and then they're separated. Then they are an entity of their own inside the system, no longer associated with your contract. So they're in effect now an independent 1099 for whatever period of months that you sponsor them in there. Okay. Anything? Any questions there? Okay, so I'm just going to go do search talent. I'll show you how the ONET works. So let's just start. So I'm started typing in engineer, but you can start seeing that you have a whole menu of choice on here. And basically whatever you can do, this is the kind of thing we do to make you get into doing. So we got all kinds of teachers here. And so basically you can scroll through the menu and pick, but that's the top line binning that we want you to do when you do that. So if I wanted to do like a labor, so we got construction laborers, that kind of stuff. If I wanted to do any of those things, that's how I go out and find somebody, or I can just go out and look for a specific skill. But again, we did that profession thing where we went in and we just wanted to go in and look for somebody, and let's just go and look for an engineer. I'll go for civil engineers, and I don't really care where they're located. So I'm just going to go out and say, and so what the system told me here is I had left this checked here that I wanted required availability date. So I'm just going to go out and pick March 3rd because I need somebody quickly. I need them for till the end of the month to help out with the project. And again, this is for underutilized people that have an hour a month or full time. And again, as far as advanced as you can do, I don't care about where they're located. So I'm just going to go out and search now. So I found 5 civil engineers out here. Again, one of those belongs to me, and one of them that doesn't belong to me is available for part of the window that I was looking for. So they're actually on contract for a lot of the period. They're on for a little bit. So if I wanted to choose and wait for somebody, or just utilize them a little bit while they're available, all these other ones, I don't really have a lot of, I don't have any of them. They're all external people. But we can sort them based on pricing, all the other stuff above this. But let's just say I wanted to go out here and I wanted to look for somebody that knew Dassault Systems SolidWorks. So I'd be able to go in here, and so there's two people in here that have that skill. Again, if I liked what I saw here, then I'm looking at their qualifications. If I like them, then I can go out and see that person, and then basically hit the contact. And in this case, I'd already sent a contact request out. So I just wanted you to basically see the workflow here. And then once that person responds, then I know who they're talking to. But you can see here, they're on that Dassault system with their approximate thing. What's their zip code here? Savannah, Georgia in this case. And, again, if you want to see that, then you'd be in good shape. All right, I'm going to pause here because we got about 10 minutes left, and then we'll go back. I think that's a good enough orientation for this, for the technology, and I'll pause here for any questions or comments, please.
I have a quick question. So to sign up for this is completely free. It's only if we utilize if we're successful, as you said. Is that the only fee, or is there a subscription fee of some kind?
No subscription fee. It's only on success.
Okay, great. And could you quickly go back over if we needed to have the team member return back to us?
Yep.
What that process looks like? Yep.
So when you negotiate a talent, I'm just going to go down here to grab a, let's just say a pending agreement. I'm going to go edit this so we can show you where you do this. So when you're negotiating, this is an agreement that is started about a specific person. This has been signed by one party, but in here, you can have the right to recall, and the right to send back is right here. Minimum recall notice. So if you wanted to say, within 3 weeks, I need to be able to call this person back, or if you're on the borrowing end and you say, I'll at least have 2 weeks or 3 weeks notice or 4 weeks notice before I know I need to send them back. That's where the two parties have to agree to this number here.
Okay.
And so that allows you basically recall, and you're satisfied under the terms of your agreement.
And there'd be no penalty if we're
No
within
penalty at all in that case, if you provide the appropriate notice.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Anybody have any comments on the model?
Richard, this is Kathy. So are you going to send a link for people to access it for the pilot period?
Yes, what we would like to do is we'll send a link for people to go and get signed up. Just to indicate, that you're with SAME when you do sign up, and there'll be a fee that you have to agree to, but we'll provide the credit for the fee. So there'll be no charge for the pilot period, except unless you successfully borrow or loan somebody.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
And then what we do is once we have the people that want to participate and get signed up, then what we do is start publishing training windows that Teresa, who's online, would be able to meet with everybody. I don't know if I know how to, do you want to take back the meeting?
Sure. You can just stop sharing your screen. But if that's it, if there's no other questions, we'll give it a second. Anybody have any questions before we let everyone go? Hearing none. Thank you so much, everyone, for being on the call. We'll share some information, like the recording, the slides, the link that Richard was talking about with you all within the week. So thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you again. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you.